this is Voyager time. I am the embodiment of modern medicine. Maybe you should talk to somebody else with more life experience, like Jake. I'm Andrew, and with me today is...
Sarah.
And Ben.
And I'm Nathan.
Today we're talking about the Voyager Episode 3 Parallax. Voyager is trapped in a quantum singularity's event horizon, and Captain Janeway must decide between Lieutenant Carey and former Maquis, B'Elanna Torres, to be the new chief engineer. We're also talking about Adventure Time Episode 4, Prisoners of Love. Having discovered that the Ice King has captured a number of princesses he sees as potential brides, Finn and Jake team up with the prisoners to set everybody free. We're also talking about Episode 5, Tree Trunks. Tree Trunks joins Finn and Jake, who go on a quest to fulfill her desire of picking a proposed legendary crystal gem apple in an evil forest. The three eventually find the tree, and Tree Trunks eats the apple, only to apparently explode and be transported to a crystal dimension. That one kind of gives away the whole episode, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Really?
Spoiler alerts, friends.
So, question. Aren't those episodes 3 and 4? Because we were watching them 2 at a time?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I think,
Did you
unless
say
you
the
count
wrong
the, like,
numbers?
pilot before.
Not only did I say them wrong, I wrote them down wrong.
Oh, no.
So, Sarah, can I give you a clean read on the number 3 and the number 4?
4. 3.
Let me give it a shot here.
Okay.
Episode 3. Oh, shit. Hold on. Episode 3. Episode 3.
Okay, we can say...
All right, you know what? I think we got
all
it.
of this is staying in. You know,
Yeah.
right?
It's
All
3
right.
minutes of saying 3.
3? 3.
Threes is a great
Episode
game, by the
3
way.
and Episode 4.
Extremely underrated.
What, the number 3?
No, the game.
It's my third favorite number.
What are your second and
Your-
first favorite numbers?
Your numbers, they just go in order.
I was
My 23rd
hoping
favorite
that he would tell us that himself, so that we could just go, uh-huh.
I would say
Got it.
my second favorite number is the number 2, but my first favorite number has got to be 5.
Okay, 5, 2, 3.
All right, so my first note here is for Voyager is just good cold open, and I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, yeah, we need to explain on the recording that it has been quite some time
It's been 1,000 years.
since we last recorded.
The world has been forever changed.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we don't know where we are, who we are anymore, and I haven't left my apartment outside of like 2 grocery store trips in like 2 months or something like that.
It's going to be a weird one. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, I think I do remember this. This, like the...
Torres punched a
Something
guy,
to
I
do with
remember.
the
One of the engineers,
engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It opens up with Torres, like, I think punching a guy, but we don't know why.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
it's like, yeah, it sounds like he deserved that.
Yeah.
Because I also have that in my note, that she's not going to take any shit, and that it sounds like he deserved it.
Yeah. My note is don't fick a pipe with a Klingon.
Perfect.
Hey, half
My first
Klingon.
note was Trouble Among the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. And I guess, I don't know why, I do remember writing this and then pausing the episode for like 20 minutes while I did research, because something about the cut of these uniforms screams 90s to me, and I cannot put my finger on what it is. Do
Is
you
it
guys
the
get
shoulder
that?
pads?
Is it that?
It has to be.
I would expect
I mean,
that.
I can't think of what else it could possibly be.
I don't know either. The pads are part of it, but like, even looking at it from like the nipples down, you could tell like this show was filmed in the 90s.
I've
I don't know
never
what to tell
thought
you.
of that
I'm
as
not
a
a
way
fashion student, so I can't like tell you.
I did a lot of research, and unfortunately, the Voyager uniforms on most Star Trek fan blogs just get like a brief mention in passing between the original Next Generation uniforms and then how everything was converted over to the Deep Space Nine uniforms.
Well, it was very different in TNG. Those uniforms. Well, the first 2 seasons had their like weird skin tight jumpsuits, and then they upgraded to like the tolerable, comfortable looking uniforms that looked actually good.
You say
And then-
upgraded. I enjoyed Patrick Stewart in that outfit.
I don't think any of them enjoyed wearing that. I mean, and then even in the newer uniforms, Patrick Stewart was like, could I just have like a different thing to wear? And they gave him
Can
this
we
like
not
fancier
do this?
coat thing that he wore for a bunch of episodes. And he was like the captain's special coat that he got. So, and to me, whenever he wore that, I always felt like he was in his like pajamas, like he was half dressed, but it was just supposed to be another acceptable captain's uniform that he had.
And on the inside was stitched Jean's favorite coat.
Yep.
Are you talking about the one
My
with like the
fancy
leather
boy coat.
quilted shoulders?
Yes.
This is a good coat. I want a coat like this.
I mean, yeah. But also I feel like if Patrick Stewart is like, I don't want to wear that. It's uncomfortable. Make me something else. You make him something else.
You gotta make
Yeah.
him something else at this point.
Well, anyway, Patrick Stewart's not in the show that we're talking about.
I know, but it's Patrick Stewart.
I know. He's so good.
You know who is in this show?
Who?
Maquis terrorists who in episode 2 are already discussing mutiny.
Yeah,
I know,
like
I was-
right away.
Just so ready to
Well,
jump.
I mean, I don't know. Why are you surprised, though?
Well,
like-
because they're not on their own. They've been taken in to someone else's ship. Like,
Right, but then they're just
but-
like... They're used to being... They don't like to play... They don't like to play with other kids. You know what I'm saying? They like to do... Well, and then they
I
even have
agree
that
with that.
reference at that
they're
one
the cool
point...
kids who can't be held to the rules.
Right, exactly. They're like, yeah. But they even have that moment where Janeway or Cha-Coke-Tay says to Janeway, "If we were on my ship, would you have been my second or my 1st officer?" And she was like, "Let's not talk about it," or whatever.
That was really good.
My thought was just like, they're talking mutiny before they've heard literally anything from commanding
Yeah,
officers.
Right, they've heard
Yeah.
nothing, and they're
There's
like,
nothing
"All right,
happening.
Time
They're
to go."
like, oh, I guess it's mutiny time. Better kill someone.
In the last episode, in the pilot, they made a pretty big deal about like we're gonna be in the ship. We're gonna like solve our problems like constructively. It's not gonna be a big fight right away. Then episode 2, like, time for mutiny.
Mutiny.
Well, how long do you think it is between the first episode and second?
That's an impossible question.
36 hours.
It's probably been
Can't
at
be
least
that
like a
long.
week. I would put a week because
I would say
there
no
isn't-
more than a week.
There isn't something happening every single day on a Star Trek spaceship. That would be
Oh my God.
overwhelming.
You know what I really want
The
though?
life expectancy would be so short. Just
Yeah.
from stress.
Yeah.
Right?
I want a 24 style TV show that's Star Trek.
No. No.
Except it's the exact same pacing and everything. It's just mostly shots of the captain like in his ready room filling stuff out.
Or
Lots of
That
her
sounds
ready room,
terrible.
since we're
Or her
watching
ready room.
Voyager.
Sorry, I was looking at this picture of Picard.
Well, I mean, a 24 style episode with Captain Picard would be like he gets up, has a nice breakfast with Crusher for the first hour, and then he has, doing his briefings, then he like goes to work and everything's normal, and then afterwards he's like, I'm gonna go play my flute, and then he's like, I'm gonna read a book and listen to some music that's like very cultured, and then he like recites some Hamlet or something, and then he goes to bed. Like that would be the whole episode.
I'm so here for that episode. Are you kidding me?
I
Yeah,
know, it'd be
great.
great.
That kind of sounds great.
Except that it's just like Patrick Stewart in real life, though.
I know.
Right.
Like, we just gotta like
Literally,
his life. Yeah.
he's
just
reading
gonna
like
follow Patrick
sonnets
Stewart
every
around.
day on
I
Instagram right
know.
now. Like he's literally that person.
He's the literal best.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Voyager.
Anyway, we need to stop getting distracted. I'm closing this picture of him. I can't keep looking at it.
I know the sexual gravity is too much.
It's a lot.
I thought it was really cool how right away they're leaning into the survival side of things of this. Like they got power problems, they got to figure out how to grow food. It would be so easy for them to downplay that and just let it be a regular Star Trek TV show with like little elements of that when it's
Right.
useful, but they just bring it out right away, and I hope it sticks around.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it kind of adds to it a bit more than others. I mean, like you think about, I don't know why I'm tying this in, but like for a lot of like D&D, type shows, they'll kind of like cut out any of like the need for figuring out food or figuring out money or like it's along those lines. Like it usually can be pretty uninteresting, but I think they did a good job kind of, I don't know, making that fit in with the world that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, when the whole premise is that they've been transported to the other side of the galaxy and that they're nowhere near anybody that can help them, they needed to play into that at least a bit more than just paying it lip service in one episode. So hopefully, I hope it keeps coming up because, that could make for some very interesting things in terms of like oh hey, we're gonna need to make some trades that we may not necessarily like because we need to eat.
So I have a question about an important element of this story, the B story. What the fuck was the point of the B story with the doctor shrinking? Why? It didn't go anywhere.
It's the doc. Well,
Is it
went-
just
it was
comic
part
relief?
of it was part of the A story because it was like
Kinda.
Well, I would argue it was part of his character development because that was
Yeah.
the first time you see some humanity come out of him at the end of it. Like,
Yeah.
I have specifically in the quote at the end or near the end of the episode where he's like, "I'm glad I could help you today," and that was like super out of what we've seen of his character at this point.
Right. I feel like it's character development on both sides because it's like, first of all, the rest of the ship realizing, oh, we should probably be nicer to him. He's the only doctor that we have on this ship, and he, we need to treat him better instead of forgetting about him as he's like shrinking smaller and smaller. And then for him, it's sort of a humbling thing, like him kind of like realizing his place on the ship and what his relationship is to everybody else. And kind of realizing that people don't really respect him, and it's part of he has a really interesting arc over the whole series, and he's one of my favorite characters on the show.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the contrast because the two quotes that I pulled from him was the one I just read, and earlier in the episode near the beginning, his exasperation of being like called, to not be just the emergency doctor, be like all, available for all the medical stuff. He says the trivia of medicine is my domain now, and it's just the contrast between that and like genuinely feel like, his response of "I'm glad I could help you today" was like an interesting contrast, like beginning of the episode.
Yeah, I specifically was very into, remember, because it's in my notes, that I was very into this idea of the doctor having this existential crisis of like, how is he going to deal with being permanent instead of, just appearing when he's absolutely needed.
All right, I'm convinced.
Plus, it also turned into a good way for them to figure out the whole thing that was going on in the first place. So
Right.
I honestly don't remember who came up with the idea
For what?
for how they explained what was going on. Well, the main thing was
it was
he just kept on like telling them, "Hey, I'm
That's what it
shrinking. I'm shrinking." And
hey,
then,
by the way, I'm shrinking. Can someone help me?
I need
Right.
help.
I do remember that excellent shot of him at the very end where he's super tiny in the chair. That was very
Yeah,
good.
just standing on the chair so that he can be
Yeah.
viewed by the camera.
Yes.
With like 90s era video compression, like
Oh.
Yep.
editing.
So he's just
Wonderful.
stretched out.
I know, that was great. How long was it between seeing the other ship and you realizing that the other ship was Voyager?
So I was about to say, like, the like in my notes, after I specifically see Kess and the Doctor, because I want them to be best friends. I have a note that says, "Oh shit, is this a Groundhog Day type thing?"
Yep.
So apparently,
Yep.
pretty much right
Yep.
away.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, instantly, right? Like, it's not just, it's such a sci-fi trope. Like, I don't know if it was so noticeable when the episode first aired, but it was just like, oh, the ship's not hailing and they can't tell what it is. It's them, obviously.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Of course it is.
They reveal it so quick, though. I think they know. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated the classic Star Trek, like, complex thing explained with a simple metaphor. But why was their metaphor like a lake and frozen water when they could have just as easily described it as a mirror?
What was the metaphor? I don't remember.
It was something about like you go
It's like-
out into a lake that's frozen and you look down and you see your own face or something like that. She was just describing a mirror.
They're probably, well,
Because I think
Weren't
because the
invented
mirror would be much clearer than what you're actually
Yeah.
seeing. Where on a lake, it might
and they
not.
didn't
Oh,
want
sure,
to
sure.
say,
Exactly.
it's more poetic to say that than it's like a mirror after you took a shower and it's all foggy or something. Like,
It just seems so right.
No, they don't have that issue in the future anymore where the mirror gets all foggy because
it's,
magic science. That's what it is.
I do really appreciate. I know it's good. It's kind of a staple of Star Trek. The the ship getting hit and everyone just like immediately like stumbling all
Yeah.
over the place.
Oh yeah.
It's
Like
very
they couldn't
funny
figure
every
that one out
time.
yet, but
I love thinking about what that looks like when they were filming it.
oh,
I love
know.
that so
Have you seen the
much.
stabilized
So much
kit
fun.
from Next Generation?
And go.
Probably.
Ah!
When they
It's
they're
so
just like,
good.
okay, now this way, and then they just like, oh, it's so funny.
I wonder if they
look
even
at
give them that much direction, because I want
Probably
to say
not.
I've seen clips where it's like they get hit from one side and there are people who are falling in ways that are not that
Right.
not that how it should go.
Yeah.
No one invented seatbelts yet, huh? In all that time.
Well, it's
So-
more like they would have forgotten about
Yeah.
seatbelts existing because they do exist currently. So like, I mean, there
I
are
do-
times when they're in the like shuttle thing and they have those on when they're like going down
Mm-hmm.
to planets and stuff. So they clearly exist. They just don't think they need them on the bridge of the giant spaceship.
No.
I
why would you?
really enjoyed when when they were first hit and Janeway's just seeming just so uninterested. Stations, everyone. Like, you just got hit and it's just like nothing. Like, you knew this was coming. This is...
She's very professional.
I do
She
not
knows what
remember
she's
what you're
doing.
talking about. I have no memory of
Oh man, it was like as the ship was hit, it was just like, oh, stations, everyone.
this. She's a consummate professional, and actually,
know.
I like her steeliness a lot because
Mm-hmm.
it really like everything about her is so crisp and professional, and like she goes beyond just being the Rock. It's like she's a part of like the ship itself, right? Like if everything's going to hell, you can look at her and her hair's gonna be perfect. She's not gonna have lost her shit. She'll know exactly what to do. I like her character a lot.
One of the best
Oh,
things
yes.
about her that you kind of, I think, realize for the first time in this episode, because she talks about it, is how she didn't come up through like the same command structure as like all the dudes on the other shows. She was a science officer, and
Oh, I missed that.
yeah, so she,
I don't remember
Is
her
a
saying that, but
scientist.
you could definitely tell, because
yeah,
I have a point later on about Janeway and Torres just like cycling into each other for their
Yes.
nerddom.
right. When
That
they
was
sit there
so
geeking
good.
out about science, and all the men in the room are just like, I don't know what's
Oh.
going on, and they're just like on their own wavelength. It was so,
Yep.
it's the
They're
best.
just
Really
like
great.
constantly escalating.
Yes.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
one complaint at that point was Tom Paris being like, if it's a paradox, like how are we in the event horizon before we even arrived? Like how did we get the distress beacon? And they're like, it's a paradox. Don't think about it too hard. I was just like,
I'm totally okay with that being like
No,
the
I
canon
mean
explanation.
that's basically Star Trek science.
I know,
slash
it's
time
just like,
travel
all right.
science
Waging a lot of.
it's like all right.
summarized.
This should
But
be a lot more
also,
meta.
Tom doesn't need to think. Tom being told not to think too much about it is
Oh, he definitely shouldn't be.
It's good advice for Tom no matter what.
yes.
Tom, you're thinking too hard. Yeah,
Just be pretty in
sit
the corner
down.
over there.
Sit
Tom,
down
don't
and be
hurt
quiet.
yourself.
But he's like the dumb. He was like the audience surrogate in a lot of it. He's
Yeah.
like, there's that line where he's like, "It's the Voyager. It's us."
Yes, I had that written down. It's so good.
Oh,
Oh my
he's so
God.
fucking dumb.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I also have a note here that they should have put a piece of tape on the real Voyager so they knew which one was which.
But then the piece of tape would be on the other
'Cause
one.
it's a
'cause
paradox,
they did it
Andrew.
in the present.
Oh, you're right. You're
It's
right.
a tape paradox.
See, this is why I don't serve on a Starfleet vessel.
Yeah,
Right,
this is the
right.
reason.
Do I sell the tape?
I also think the Voyager shuttlecraft are incredibly adorable because they're so junky.
Yes.
It's like they took the ones from the other Enterprises and just like squished them a little bit. Oh my goodness. They're toddler shuttlecraft.
So, what do you guys think about B'Elanna as a character so far?
I like her.
I
Yeah,
like
I
her.
really do like her a lot.
I like her a lot. In my notes, I was saying though that I don't think that she should be the head engineer, just because it was like, you know, she was just being like insubordinate so fucking much and just not taking any orders from anybody. And it's like,
That's
you
not
expect
true.
her to be an officer. Well, okay, you're right. She was not taking any orders from anybody who wasn't a McKee.
She wasn't taking orders from anybody she thought was making bad choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
But-
she wasn't very diplomatic about it.
No.
That is true.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, I
There's
was just like, I
definitely-
don't like the other guy. I was like, I have that in my notes.
that-
Like, I don't like the other
definitely
guy,
better
but he's, but at least he follows protocol. So
Yeah.
My read was that Janeway put Mr. Carey in charge at first, specifically as a test to see if B'Elanna could handle herself in that situation. And I think she did, right? I mean, that's why she was promoted at the end, because she solved the problem. She showed that she could keep her cool.
Yeah.
She did everything right.
Yeah, I mean, if it turns out, obviously it'll turn out well. But I was just like really skeptical of it.
I would argue that Janeway sees her both as a talented engineer, and by putting her in this position, it's an olive branch to the other McKee, saying you're a welcome part of the ship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think B'Elanna is so interesting to me now that I've seen all of Next Generation. The first time I watched Voyager all the way through, I hadn't, watched every episode of Next Generation, which I did very recently. So it's all very fresh.
Not as a result of the quarantine, though. This was just totally
No.
separate.
That was just a personal project that I had when I wanted to, because Picard was coming out. I had to see every episode so that I would know everything about that show, and it went great. Anyway, so the only other Klingon really that's like a main character in any of the Star Trek I've seen is Worf. So Worf and B'Elanna are so interesting to compare because Worf is a Klingon who was raised by humans on Earth, and B'Elanna is half human and half Klingon. So it's just like the way that they've written her, where she's like so hyper aggressive. To me, it comes across as like trying too hard to prove that she's got Klingon blood.
Right.
And like Worf, on the contrary, was like, I mean, not always, but he was very like reserved in terms of Klingons. Like he knew how to handle himself around humans, and he wasn't just like randomly mad all the time, at least in the later seasons.
He always felt really reserved is the right word. You could tell there was a lot
Yeah.
going on behind the scenes, but he only ever showed like 10% of it.
Right. And like they obviously had episodes where you could see all of that, but he always kept that away from his like superior officers, and was always like apologizing when it was coming, if ever he like slipped or whatever. And so I just think it's an interesting contrast between the fact that B'Elanna is a woman and she's the one who's like hyper aggressive and like way throwing it around all the time and not apologizing for it ever. And Worf was just kind of the opposite of that. And I don't know how like intentional all of that was, but it feels intentional to me.
I think it's 100% intentional.
Yeah.
It's clear that that's a big part of her character arc.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know how much they were really taking into account. Well, what's the other Klingon that we've had? It's Worf. Let's just do the opposite of that. It's a girl who is really aggressive as opposed to him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
B'Elanna in this episode, I really liked her, and I related to her a lot. As someone who struggles with dealing with big emotions in appropriate ways, I really responded to her having to manage it herself for not just herself and what she wanted, but for the benefit of the people around her. Like the McKee, she wanted to have like be respected on the ship, and not her to be like the to be held up as an example of why they're all bad or that kind of thing. But also just personally, like figuring out how to manage her feelings, even if she feels like she shouldn't have to.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
A lot of interesting character development happening really early on. That it could turn out so many different ways. That it's going to be really cool to see as we continue on.
I really liked the Janeway quote where I can't remember exactly how they solved this. They just like fucking drive through like the portal thing at the end, right?
Yeah, they just kind of punch through a hole.
And her quote,
essentially.
over the years, I've learned that sometimes you just have to punch your way through. It's so good.
Yes.
I specifically have in here that people just need to trust Janeway more.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
The episode's theme seems to end up actually being, hey, fucking trust Janeway. She's holding this thing together. You lose Janeway, you lose this entire fucking ship.
Yeah, they would have no hope without her.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their seasons are going to be like, but I have to imagine as the reality of being out here for 75 years sets in,
bare
she's
minimum.
gonna have yeah. Well, and I know it. They do some jumps and stuff, but still, like a long time, at least a decade or two. Like I think it's really going to be interesting to see how her character evolves and goes through things like hopelessness and having to remain strong even when she doesn't feel like it herself, and holding the crew together and stuff like that. I'm really excited to see how this all plays out.
Right, because right now it's still so early in their journey.
Right.
So,
It's
getting
the
to
mission.
Right, right. And there's all the adrenaline around that early on, and all of the the drive, and then as time goes on, it'll be interesting to see.
When you're in year
how things
7 of
change.
just having to survive, it's totally different.
Yeah.
And I also really liked her quote at the very end. One of the nice things about being captain is that you can keep some things to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Her character is so good, and and none of it feels forced. She just feels like such a complete person right away.
Yeah.
She's so
I've
good.
noted the approving nod of Janeway. It's like a warm hug.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
God, I would die for that nod.
Earlier in the episode, I can't remember who this was with. I think it was with, oh my god, Cha-Coke-Tay. He asked for permission to leave, and she says,
Yeah, is that
"What's his name?"
I'm not the only one who heard that, right?
Well, his name is Cha-Coke-Tay now.
That was my favorite Coke marketing campaign.
Oh, I was going to say that's my favorite drug to get off the streets.
Cha-Coke-Tay.
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 God, I'm gonna sound like such an asshole, but I kept mixing that up with Tchaikovsky. Fuck, it's Tchaikovsky. Oh my god.
It's okay.
I'm like such an
I
ass.
didn't even pronounce that right. Anyway, when
Holy
he
shit,
asked for
Andrew.
permission to leave, and she just goes, dismissed. I was like, oh, what a punch in the gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't quit, you're fired.
Yeah. You aren't allowed to ask to leave. I tell you when you leave.
Yeah.
It just so happens that they line up this time, but I'm the one who said so.
Yeah.
All right, did we wrap up Voyager? Was anybody else have any insights?
I think we covered it pretty well.
I love Shrinking Doctor.
Yeah.
Like, the doctor stole the show.
Nobody brought up the part where Neelix is the audience explainer, and Cass is like, "What's an event horizon?" And Neelix is like, "Oh, come over here, and I'll tell you and the audience what that means."
Gather around.
Yeah.
My only note on Cass is how hard she's channeling 60s Star Trek.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
But I really like her though, because she's like nice.
Do you?
Yeah.
She has zero personality to me. We got like
We just
this
haven't
bare
seen her
sliver
Yeah,
of it.
Nothing's really
Yeah.
happened one way or the other for me. Like,
Well-
What feels weird about her to me is like in the first episode when Neelix is like he like wants to get out of there and he's like, oh yeah, and this girl too, and there's like a little bit of stuff of their relationship, but it never felt
It is.
super tangible to me.
Yeah. I watched this entire show and I'm still not totally sure what is really going on with them. It seems like I could never really tell. I could just never tell if it was like they were like hooking up or if it was like a father-daughter type of thing. Because she's like, her race lives to like age 9, right?
I know, yeah.
She's like 3 or something. So I don't really know how to read that whole thing.
I got like green card marriage vibes from them.
Yeah.
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 And like are they together, or is it like a father-daughter thing? Is it like a sibling thing, or just like a buddies thing? Like they run around together holding hands on the ship.
We're just great pals.
Yeah, like I don't know. But when she's not with Neelix in the show, I think she's more interesting.
I
But
can't wait
also,
to see that.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, I don't know how. Do you guys want like any hints and spoilers about anything?
No.
Okay.
She
You
does
just
bring
killed
out
Sarah a little bit.
I know. She does bring out some of the goodness in the Doctor in this episode. She sort of loosens him up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I want them to be best friends.
She's like this nice little ball of light that like flutters around and is like, I see the best in people or whatever. And like,
Right.
This calming presence.
yeah. And like when you're in a place where there's a lot of potential darkness, it's nice to have that one character who you can always kind of be like, oh, well, she's going to bring some niceness and light to this situation, maybe.
I guess to me that my problem is that seems to be her only thing. Like, we have a ton of complexity for all the characters we've seen so far, just in 2 episodes. So I guess it's not fair of me to say I don't like her already. There's not a lot there, and I hope that we see more.
I was also going to point out, she also has had how much screen time?
Right.
Yeah.
She's had like 10 minutes total through 2 episodes.
Well, I mean, she was a little in the first one a little bit more, but she definitely like. I mean, you have to think about how she came from this underground society where they all were like blindly believing in this caretaker, and then she busted out and was like, "I'm gonna go up there and see what's really going on." Like, I would say that's like a relentless curiosity at least that she has.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
But,
that's true, and that's
she's more
totally
interesting
obvious
than
in
the rest of her
pilot, too.
people. At least
right.
so far.
I'll reserve my judgment on Cass until at least the end of the season.
Okay.
And his judgment at that point is set in stone. It will never change.
It will not change from season to
This
season.
character never has any sort of progression at this point.
Yeah, and this is Cass is pretty cool. She's all right, and then she murders everybody in season 5. Like, she's still all right.
She's still fine.
I can totally see her side.
Okay, let's talk about Adventure Time.
This is a good, weird episode.
I love Ice King.
I know.
I was so happy to get
So
Ice
much.
King.
My first note is snow golem tongue flap. I don't know what that means.
It's when they're sledding by, and you just see the ice golem back there with his tongue just flapping.
There's a snowman cat at some point too, because I have that.
I have the quote, "We don't need a sled, just slide on my gut."
Yeah, sleds are for suckers. Just right in my gut.
Very good.
So this is the first time that Jake starts shapeshifting, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think he did it in the first couple episodes. He was just
Nope.
a dog.
So is that like an ability that he has now?
Yeah.
He's
like
kinda
he's always had
had
it,
it.
they just-
One, like, innocuous, like, just the beginning of episode 1, I thought there was some shot of him.
Yeah, he might have like stretched his legs or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was huge and he got smaller or something. But yes, that's something that Jake can do. He can change shape.
Oh, I didn't know if it was something where like Jake's the dog, not the person. Okay, like I was like, wait, because I knew the dog could.
Human.
Yeah, I know it says it in the song.
That's fair. That's
It's
fair.
just that Finn sounds like an animal name and Jake sounds like a person name, and that's why it was in my head backwards for a second.
It's very funny to me. Yes.
No, you're totally spot on.
They take Jake's stretching and changing shape to its most extreme conclusions in later episodes, and it's very good.
It's so funny what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
There's one. Sarah, do you want spoilers for Adventure Time? I don't even spoilers for
Is
this
there
crazy TV show.
How do you?
There's one
I mean, I
crazy
don't
episode
know.
where when Jake sleeps, he starts dreaming about the circus, and then part of his body goes and joins the circus, and the whole thing is done, and there's no dialogue until like the last line of the episode, and it's like this really like dramatic, sad episode where like Jake's tale is like going through all these trials and tribulations.
I love
It's
this
insane.
show so much.
Yeah. I also really appreciated the bit where there's a snow monster coming at Jake, and he just like picks it up and turns it into a snowball.
Yeah.
Yeah, the snow monster is not the most effective.
So one thing I have noted down: Ice King is voiced by the same guy who does SpongeBob.
Yep.
I didn't.
Tom
realize
Kenny.
Oh,
that.
I can
Kenny.
hear that.
I didn't
Tom
realize
Kenny's
it
makes
until
sense.
So many
like,
people.
this episode, and I was like, "How have I never noticed that before? How did I ever
Yep.
not
Yeah.
make that connection?" The other thing, Ice King's terrifyingly skinny legs.
Hold on,
God,
I
they
want to talk
creep me
about Tom Kenny real quick. He also voiced the narrator and the mayor in Powerpuff Girls. He is
Oh, yeah.
Spyro from Spyro the
Yeah.
Dragon.
He's got a
very
repertoire.
Yeah.
He's very good.
He's done so much. He has a little bit in Idiocracy. He's in Ant-Man. Like, you name it, he's been in.
in
He was in
Ant-Man?
Futurama. Yeah, the Marvel movie.
Yeah, I know the Marvel. I know what it is. Who is he in Ant-Man?
Let me
He's
find out for you.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, he does
Believe it or
Paul
not.
Rudd's voice. He is, quote, hideous bunny.
What?
but I believe it
Must
is
be
a
one of the
reference to
toys
him
in his-
voicing Ant-Man in some of the Marvel animated TV shows.
Yeah.
That makes
Oh,
sense.
okay.
So Ice King is essentially just self-hosting a season of The Bachelor, right?
Absolutely.
Non-consensually.
None of the contestants want to be on the show, but they're there.
Mind if I steal you away? Can we play this marimba over here? I want to check out your musical aptitude.
I love that we finally get a lineup of the different kinds of princesses we can have outside of Princess Bubblegum and Lumpy Space Princess.
Yes.
Hot dog princess. Slime princess.
Slime princess.
I think there's Raspberry Princess too.
Flame Princess.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was in this episode, but there's also a Corpse Princess, which I like a lot.
She might have been there, but they might not have said her name.
Okay, yeah. There's also a Doctor Princess, or Princess Doctor, Doctor, who we find out later is not an actual doctor. She was just given that name and decided she had to do it.
So, why did you guys say that you loved the Ice King?
Oh, good question.
Because that's not, I mean, like,
Ice
this is my only experience with him is
terrible.
this one episode, and I'm like, I mean, the best part to me
sucks.
was at the end when he's, like, having his fever dream, and then he's like, why don't people like me? And then
You're a
the...
sociopath.
Yeah, and then they're like, you're a sociopath. I laughed so hard.
Flying naked through space.
Yeah, is it because my beard is too scruffy, or whatever he said?
Oh, my beard.
Because he pees his pants constantly, all the time.
Yeah, Jake being such a fucking
Well,
troll.
I mean,
That's
let me
not
be straight. I'm
relevant to
not
Ice
saying
King, though.
I love Ice King because he's a likable guy or
Well,
has
I
good
know,
qualities.
I just didn't know if he has some, like, kind of spectacular character arc that changes him into somebody that's, like,
Yes.
good.
Yes.
He's-
He absolutely does.
Have you seen him play
very
the drums
sad.
though?
With his number one
With-
babe written on
with
the
his-
Yeah.
room.
His
And all
leopard print bedspread.
His dancing butt slaps.
Yeah, when I did like a lot of his lines. But I will
so
say,
funny.
I was really relieved that the end of the episode did turn out to be like some kind of both sides thing. Like, I mean, yeah, it was bad that he kidnapped all those people, but they should have been nicer to him or something.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Oh, yeah.
if they had
No,
just
no,
been
no.
his friend, it wouldn't have been so bad.
And
Like,
no, how
they
they
were
just
like,
laid it out. It's like,
you're
nope,
straight
you're a
up,
sociopath.
you're a sociopath, and you deserve to be alone. Goodbye. Yeah.
When you say lame, do you spell it Lame?
Yeah, I didn't notice that the first time, but when I watched it again just now, I actually heard that line and I was like, what is that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I also really appreciated Lumpy Space Princess being like, I'm going to say something fun, like, oh yeah, I'm having a fun time.
One of the
Yeah.
best times I've ever
Oh,
had in
I'm
my
having
entire
such
life.
fun.
I had that exact quote written down too.
I love
Every-
the Lumpy Space Princess.
She
She's
is so good.
funny.
I really
Is she
enjoyed.
voiced by Pendleton?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Yes.
feel like we talked about that in the first episode that we recorded 100 years ago.
I was going to
but-
say that's 100 years ago, so I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I remember us extensively talking about Janeway's hair in the first episode.
Yes.
I'm never
It's
going
an
to forget that
important
moment.
topic.
I really appreciated Finn's broken flute and Jake going, you broke it when we tried to pick the lock to the sad ogre's heart.
Yeah. Does that ever come back or is that just a random thing?
I think that's just
I don't remember.
I think it's just a throwaway thing, but it
Okay.
was so good.
So this episode is, in particular, one that one of the creators called out, Adam Muto. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So he takes over show running after, I think, season 5. And he did an interview where he talks about in this episode, there's a scene with the Ice King carting Finn and Jake. He's pushing up a hill, and he takes a break and pulls out trail mix and eats it. The slowness of it and the calmness of it, and you can put that in a script like he takes a break and eats trail mix, and it would just get cut. But in a storyboard, you can feel why it's right. It gives that he's not just a pure villain, he's a real guy, and he's eating his trail mix, and he wants that last yogurt chip. And he has to reach down to get it with his fingers. And it's like this 5-second little bit in the
Yeah.
episode, and it just gives so much texture and character to the show as a whole. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that about Adventure Time. And he's right, because if it was a script, like you'd cut that out for time for the more important things. But in this, because it's in the show, because they only have 11 minutes to work with, and they spend a not insignificant fraction of that with him just trying to fish this damn yogurt chip out of a bag. It just it seems so much more important. It becomes part of his character. Like he's like kidnapped women to marry them, and he's also just like a guy who wants his yogurt chip.
He's not good, but he's also
not good.
Yeah,
he's not good.
Kidnapping is still more bad than the goodness of the yogurt chip. But
Sorry, I don't mean to imply that him fishing around in his trail mix makes him a good person. I just mean that it adds texture to his character.
Right. Okay. Got it.
It makes him more of a person.
Right.
It makes him more of a person than a character, even though he's a wild character.
Yeah.
He's not just a one-note kidnapper. He's a one-note kidnapper who also wants his yogurt chip.
Right. Okay.
It's those little things that really add up for why Ice King is a fun character, not necessarily a good one. So he's fun. He's a lot of fun.
Can we talk, speaking of fun Adventure Time characters, can we please talk about Tree Trunks now?
Of course.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
Talk about Tree Trunks.
The very sexy Tree Trunks, you mean?
Oh my god. She's so pure. I love her so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's an AMA on Reddit with her voice actor, and she is exactly like Tree Trunks.
Phenomenal.
God, that
good.
lady has to be so sweet and just like a little tiny old lady. Is that what she is?
That's exactly what she is.
Oh my god.
Her name is Polly Lou Livingston. Of course she's wonderful.
Oh.
Anybody with three names like that. Oh my god.
Come and get some apple pie. And it's and then she throws out an entire pie because a fly touched it.
A new pie is coming in the wag of a lammy's tail.
Yeah.
So Polly Livingston in this Reddit AMA, somebody asks, how do you feel about Tree Trunks' innuendo-filled dialogue? And because she's getting help from someone, she says, I don't even know what that means. And then someone explains to her, and she just goes, it's fabulous.
I don't even know what that means. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, she's just like the cutest little elephant.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't
ever.
know what she's doing at all.
Yeah.
Just walking through the evil forest. Just
She's
completely
Mr. Magooing her
oblivious.
way through
Yeah,
this
she's
entire
like,
thing.
oh, look at that cute little butterfly. And it's like a skull, like, demonic thing. And then she starts putting stickers, scratch and sniff stickers on this monster.
Smells just
On
like
the
a
sign
pickle.
monster.
Yeah.
Or the sign zombies.
Yeah. Obviously, this is the very beginning of the show, and she's probably in a lot more episodes. I'm hoping, but like the ending of this episode was so funny to me.
It's just so abrupt.
I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like they get I thought okay, so before we touch that, like the part where they're fighting the big crystal monster or whatever, I thought that was really clever. But yeah, the fight was really cool, and then the fact that they at the end were like, we need to do this the way Tree Trunks would do it. And then they
get made up.
win? Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And she
Well, she got to
bites the apple.
Yeah, that was her
the
win.
And what?
The pop
dies.
balls.
Like her face and then their faces. Oh my god.
I just love so much that they had it in them to just end an episode on that.
Yeah.
So many other shows it would be like, "Ugh, somebody needs
How
to
do we wrap this
react.
up?"
Somebody
Right.
needs to have something happen.
What-
Nope.
Yeah.
What's the
But
resolution
instead
to
it was
this?
just loud, deep throat noises or whatever the
Yeah.
like closed captioning said when it got to that part. It was just this like horrible death noise. It was like
God, it's so good.
their faces
Oh,
just
I love it
horrifying.
Something that's never going to be addressed ever again.
My adventurer's instinct tells me to seduce that tentacle monster with my womanly charms and elephant instincts.
That's such a fucking funny
See,
line.
it sounds better. It sounds weird when you say it. Yeah.
Even brain beasts get lonely.
I also like the part when Jake is just going, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's a very relatable moment.
Uh-huh.
It's great how much they just took from like, oh, we're gonna make an escort quest into a TV show. Oh, we're gonna do an interesting boss fight into a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
where the pop comes in, but it obviously seems to take a lot from that kind of a thought process.
Yeah.
and it's just so fun.
they take it and just turn it on its head, so it becomes not about Finn and Jake, it becomes about Tree Trunks. And
Right.
they feel like they have to protect her, but she's doing a pretty fine job of taking care of herself.
Yeah. Like, we don't know that she would have been in trouble at all if she was on her own. Because, like, the reason that those monsters were fighting was because they were being fought by Jake and Finn. So maybe she would have been fine. She would have made friends with everybody.
Perfectly happy with that tea party she was putting on.
Tree Trunks is an elephant because one of the staffers on Adventure Time met Polly Lou Livingston at a protest to release Lucky the elephant from the San Diego Zoo, and liked her voice so much they knew they had to get her on the show, and so they made her an elephant in honor of that.
That's
amazing. Good.
That's very, very good.
Was she a voice actor or just an old lady that they found and liked?
As far as I know, this is her only credit.
This was her only credit.
Amazing.
Polly Livingston is in a few other things, all of them related to the creators of Adventure Time.
That makes sense.
All right, should we talk about connections between Adventure Time and Star Trek Voyager?
Yes.
Nate, what did you find?
So my connection was how during the boss fight in Adventure Time they had to find the crystal weak spot, just like how on the Voyager they had to find the rupture in the event horizon. The weak point, the big old weak point in event horizon.
That's a really good one. I totally didn't pick up on that.
We're not going to go around through this like a test, are we?
Only nope.
No.
Just speak up.
Does that mean you don't have a connection?
I didn't write one down specifically, and it's been 1,000 years since I've seen these episodes.
In Prisoners of Love, they had to find a way to escape, just like they did in Voyager. Ben, they don't have to be good connections. They just have to be simple.
They can be whatever.
I mean, it'd be nice if they were like quote unquote good, but you know.
All right.
We're
How about
working
this one?
with what we've got.
The Crystal
we put ourselves
Guardian.
into this.
Right.
The Crystal Guardian that they had to fight is a reflection of Finn and Jake themselves. Is that better? Is that a little more literary?
That was
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
My connection that I saw was the whole you should listen to women.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because, you know, B'Elanna is the one that knows she's better for the job. She knows what to do. Tree Trunks would have probably gotten through that forest fine, and you should probably not lock up a bunch of women who say they don't want to be there.
Additionally, Tree Trunks would have probably gotten through that forest with a whole lot less collateral damage.
True.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, she would have made friends the whole time.
Yeah.
She would have come out like ruling the whole forest.
Right. Everyone would have gotten
The queen
so
of the
many
forest.
so many stickers.
Yeah.
And really good hugs.
Yes.
Really good hugs.
And pie.
And you know what? Some nice smooches for brain beasts who need it.
Yes. Seriously,
my motto.
probably my favorite line of that episode was when she said, "I'm helping you by tempting this guy with my body." And then when she starts like doing the song, the song, she starts like humming. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it is so good.
Oh, both these shows are just like so good on their own.
They really are.
And then trying to piece these together is so fun.
Voyenture Time outro. Take one. Thanks for listening to our weird podcast. Can I call it a weird podcast? It is a weird podcast.
Yeah, it's a weird podcast.
It, by definition, is a
How
weird podcast.
dare you?
I literally had to explain it to my coworkers today, so that was fun.
Oh, you
What?
explained
Wait.
it?
I have
Yeah,
Why?
story time.
shit
Well,
to my
someone-
coworkers.
Wait,
Someone
you told
asked,
people about this?
Someone explicitly asked what, because it came up that I had a podcast mic in front of me. They're like,
Oh, they're like, oh, do you use that to record a podcast? And you're like, yeah, actually.
Every time that I'm on a video call with my coworkers, I specifically have my mic out of frame so that questions like that don't come up.
Wait, what did they actually ask?
they asked what the podcast was about.
Oh, like
I
as
had
a
to
joke?
explain
Fuck
it.
if I
How did
know.
they respond?
They were like, I was like, literally the response was, oh. I was thinking it was going to be like, you know, like taking care of your kids during like quarantine or something.
Oh. No, this is...
Like,
You were like, no, Guys, I'm fucking
Please.
weird.
Let's move on with the meeting.
I'm
Y'all
a normal
didn't
person.
know
You
about
can
me.
work with me.
Uh-oh, my internet's going.
Oh, you're breaking up. I can't.
Breaking up.
Are
Looks
you,
like I can never come into the office because I can't show my face in this office again.
this is my resignation. Wait, well, how many people were on this meeting?
Allison, we're moving.
I think it's only like 4.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad.
No,
Although
it was like my
if I-
immediate team.
If I tried to explain this to my coworkers, they would be like, "Okay, Sarah, that's nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, like, I'm glad it makes you happy," kind of thing.
See, I'd get the very similar, like, glad it makes you happy, but also at the same time, people understanding exactly what we're doing and also being like, it's a shame he's not doing something that's relevant to work.
Well, for fun outside of work hours, yeah,
They
no.
actually want me to do that. I
But
hate
no,
It's
that's
totally
not-
a tech thing, right? You're supposed to
It
like
really
do
is.
passion projects.
it. Yeah.
I'll talk about that offline, but
Yes.
Yes.
Nate, you...
it's
oh,
it's
God.
a huge pet peeve of
Oh.
mine. And I can go down a huge rabbit hole about that, but I won't right now.
Yes, Nate, we need to vent
Okay.
about this to each
All
other later.
Let's get this outro going. Does everybody know what part of that quote they're saying?
Wait,
Yes.
okay, are you gonna be like Voyager time outro take 2?
No.
We're gonna talk about next week.
Yeah. All right. Voyager time outro. Take 2.
We're leaving the last, like, 5-10 minutes in.
Probably.
Okay, Andrew, take 3.
That's
All right.
It's going
Ready,
in
here we go.
after the after the fact.
Thank you for listening to our weird podcast. Next week, we'll talk about Voyager Episode 4, Time and Again, and Adventure Time Episodes 5 and 6, The Enchiridion and The Jiggler. In the meantime, well, I'll just wait for you here then.
By the mausoleum.
With my back turned.
And my defenses lowered.
I feel like it should be. We should say we, because it's a group thing.
Okay.
It is a
All
great
right.
thing.
We'll just wait for you here then.
By the mausoleum.
With our backs turned.
And our defenses lowered.
I'm a doctor, not well-dressed pickles.
Take 4.
Well,
Hold
Andrew,
on.
you don't have to say the part you said.
Thanks for
before. I just-
listening to our weird podcast.
No.
How dare you, sir?
See, I'm going to take all of that, what you just said, Nate, and put it back in the part when I said how dare you, and it'll make it sound like we said it at the same time.
Get him, Sarah.
God, we have to really respect her a lot because she's our editor. She can totally twist our words into whatever.
God, I
We'll
really
just
hope,
wait for
I want
you
you to
here, then.
include that part with Andrew and then like totally chop up some things that he said to make him sound like a fucking idiot. With that
Do you want me
exact
to- here,
thing.
I'll just do it for you. Me, Andrew, is so stupid.
Now piece that together to make it something very nice.
Okay.
Take 6.
I don't know.
Take
what we're
69.
on.
Stop.
Nice.
Nice.
I've only
We'll
had
just
2
wait for
beers
you here
today.
then.
How did I?
Oh my
damn
god.
Do we need to pull up Time Dotus again?
I'm just waiting for there to be a moment of silence for me to record this. All right.